Gay Sui, one and all, mankind and Quias' stellar creatures in this planet Terra. This is the third video of the 21st chapter of the book of Numbers. We left off with the Israelites, Moses, sending messengers to King Sihon. He's the king of the Amorrheites. And, he said no. You can't go through our territory. So that king met him in this place, Jaffa. Since he didn't allow him to pass through their borders, so he gathers his army and he meets them in the desert, and that's where Jaffa is, right there in the desert. And they fought against the Israelites. All right, so why is this going on? The Israelites are doing their best just to try to get to the land of Canaan, which is right to the west of where they are, Moab and Ammon territory. This is happening because of lack of communication, of assumptions. Again, this isn't just a platoon or a battalion or a flight of people. This is 1 million plus. This is a city, a mobile small city of people. The Moses train is just enormous. So when these kings are hearing about this, they're thinking the worst. Well, this is strong. We've got to take care of this before it gets any worse. Or whatever's going through their mind. Well, it didn't work out too well for Jaffa or for King Sihon's army. They were, by the grace of God, taken down by the edge of the sword. And from that, the king's land was possessed from Ammon all the way up to a place called Yebek, which is the northern territory of the children of Ammon. I'll show you real quickly. That's what we're talking about. See the two markers there? So yeah, it's quite a bit of territory that they now are going to possess. Now, you're going to have to remember something else too. Again, this is what I always keep saying, we are all brothers and sisters. Moab and Ammon, if you can recall from our discussion in Genesis, these were founded by Lot's son, Ben-Ammi. Ben-Ammi founded both Moab and Ammon. So they were linked, cordial friends. But then again, Ben-Ammi was birthed by incest because he was drunk, and that's how the daughters did it when they thought the world was ended and they had to repopulate. So this is what's going on here, going from cordiality to conflict, because these two nations, Moab and Ammon, have been battling each other, as well as the Amorrheites, excuse me. So now the borders of the Amorrhites, they were kept with a strong garrison. So the Amorrhites, they fortified their boundaries. So Israel, again, Moses writes Israel as a first person, takes all his cities and he dwells in the city of the Amorrhite, the city of the Amorrite. And the big one is Hezebon. That's where all the main villages are, in the place of Hezebon. In fact, that's where the king resided, King Sihon and Hezebon. So the city Hezebon, or the king's city, who fought against, as I said before, the king of Moab consistently, and took all the land that had been of his dominion, all the way as far as Ammon. So now a proverb comes. Come into Hezebon. Let the city of Sihon he built and erected. A fire went forth from Hezebon, a flame from the town of Sihon, and devoured Ar of the Moabites, and the inhabitants of the high places of Ammon. Woe to the Moab! Thou art undone, people of Chemos. He hath given his sons into flight, and his daughters into captivity to Sihon, the king of the Amorrheites. Their yoke is perished from Hezebon unto Debon. They came weary into Nopheh and unto Medaba. So this conflict started another bitter battle between the Amorites and Moab and Ammon, and it's just like a dynamite exploded from a wick being ignited, and that's the Israelis. And this is most likely God's plan for his Israelites were the impetus to this conflict, because now as they're wearing on each other, they're losing more soldiers to battle against the Israelites. So Israel therefore dwelt now in the land of the Amorrheites because of all these conflicts. And so Moses, he sent some to take a view of the land of Yazar. Now Yazar is just north. It's in the Amorrhite territory, southern part. It's just north of the Salt Sea. I'm not sure where that is real promptly. We're up there to the top. So he sent some to take a view of Yazar and the villages they took and possessed, as well as the inhabitants. And they turned themselves and went up by the way of Basan. Now, Basan or Basan, pretty large area, pretty large land, pretty large territory. And that king there goes by the name of Og. King Og of Basan. Well, he wasn't going to pacify. He also came against Israel and his people. I'm using what Moses uses, first tense. And they fought in a place called Edrei. Edrei. And this is, again, is where Quies speaks to Moses. As they're coming forth to fight them, all goes inside his side. He says, don't fear them, for into your hand I have delivered him and all his people and the land. When you have that coming from Quies, that is just going to pacify Moses completely, as it would you, would it not? Hopefully, if you have the faith. And thou shalt do to him as thou didst to Sihon, the king of the Amorrheites, the inhabitant of Hezebon. So Quies is promising Moses, don't fear him. Remember what you did to Sihon? Well, that's what's going to happen to Og. You need to understand this, as I mentioned before, the way this is working out is they're covering the periphery of Canaan, except for the west, which is the sea, the Great Sea, of the southwestern portion. At this point, over 125 miles have been traversed by the Israeli combatants. It's not necessarily the entire Moses train is doing that route, but the combatants certainly are. And this, during their battles with the Moabites, with the Edomites, with the Amorrheites, and now the Basanites. I want you to take a look at the map of Canaan. Map of Canaan. And what Quies is doing is they're doing the periphery, the eastern and the northern part. before they enter the yolk of this egg, which is the center. That's where Canaan is. In lieu of marching, fighting directly through the center of Canaan, Elohim has his army first establishing the strength as well as footholds, garrisons all along the periphery of Canaan. They are possessing these places that they're conquering. Of course, again, this is excluding the western part, which is the sea, and the southwestern part. Now, paralleling this to the purification of man, let's talk about this with you today. Recall Koias had his priests, the repenters, and everyone else begin with the cleansing of their attire and their bodies before purging their souls inwardly, the darkness as well as sin that's inside them. Canaan is similar, being purged from the outside periphery before going inside. So I'm drawing a parallel of Canaan to you, to man. Begin with something simple. Cleanse your body. Cleanse your attire. Don't wear anything fancy. Change your attire to where it's more maybe drab, or very humble at least, but you have nothing to prove to your fellow man. Everything to validate to your heavenly Father. So they did smote them, Og, as well as his sons and all of Og's people, unto utter destruction. And after Og fell, they possessed his land of Basan. And that brings us to a close to this incredible chapter of the book of Numbers. When we next meet, we will begin a new epistle, number 22. So until then, read this for yourselves, absorb this, and read and apply what I've told you and see how it fits, see how it more makes sense to you. Until then, Pax Vobis.